just by sharing a small, positive, creative act with the world and doing that consistently, we can build the communities that we didn't know we needed. We can do away with our negative addictions if we can actually lean into those small, positive, creative acts and then share them with the world consistently. Creativity highlights our core passions. Just a small, positive, creative act can change the world if we do it consistently. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flow Over Fear. I am glad you are here today. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the idea of creative connection. And the reason I want to talk about creative connection is because I just spent this last weekend achieving another big goal that I had for myself. I did a TEDx talk at Boston College. It was super exciting. It was something that I've had on my vision board for a couple of years now, ever since I've started my my speaking journey and started following this next phase of my life where I'm building this speaking career. And it was a big step for me to be accepted to this TEDx talk where I gave a talk on probably the most powerful topic and simple topic that I could ever think of. And I never knew that I would be so connected to the idea of a talk. But as I created this TED talk, I really connected to it. And I realized how impactful the simple act of creative connection has been in the last few years of my life. So the title of this talk, and expect it to be out within the next few couple months, I would imagine. I don't know exactly when TED releases these TEDx talks. I know it takes usually a month or two for them to get them out there, but rest assured that I will be sharing this far and wide and spamming the heck out of all of you on through your ears and your emails to share this wherever you can. Okay, not literally spamming you. I'm not a literal spammer, but I will be very aggressively asking you, very sternly asking you to share this because I feel so impassioned by this message. This idea, in the name of the talk, if I haven't shared it already, was the community that you never knew you needed. And the reason I call it that is because I believe that just by sharing a small, positive, creative act with the world and doing that consistently, that we can actually create or we can build the communities that we didn't know we needed and that we didn't know we wanted. So often we are searching, I believe, for connection in the wrong ways. I was seeking connection in part of my life through alcohol, and I found that it was isolating me. You know, this idea that if I think back to when I first drank alcohol, the reason that I loved drinking early on when I started college was because it took away my social inhibitions. It made me more social. It helped me to quote unquote connect with the other kids in college and feel accepted. But in reality, it didn't do that at all. Because over time, I became more isolated. I felt more disconnected. I felt more lonely because I isolated myself because I started having a severe problem with that. That just doesn't happen just with alcohol. It happens with all of our other addictions too, like gambling, like drugs, sex addiction. We're trying to find connection in these things. And in return, in these negative addictions, these negative obsessions that we have, we're actually finding more isolation, more disconnection. And it's breaking us when we're in those addictions. And the worst part about it is, by the way, and here's me getting on my soapbox, is now that I'm sober, now that I've been graced with sobriety for the past 12 years, which I still believe is a miracle, and I'm still so grateful for my sobriety, I am seeing more and more. And if you watch sports, like we watch the Avalanche games out here in Colorado, and we watch we watch the basketball, the Nuggets, and the Rockies play, and all that kind of stuff. Every day when they're on there, there is nothing but advertisements for alcohol and sports betting, and it's just I I I I understand the idea of a free market, and I get it, but those things are not helping, and the fact that we are advertising those things is just horrible. But I digress. That's my soapbox. But and those things are not giving us connection. And there's also another thing that is that there are other hidden addictions that we have that we may not even know about when we're pursuing it, when we're trying to find that connection. And one of those things I tried to pursue or pursue connection in, even when I was into sobriety, was the news and social media. I wanted to seek connection in the fact that I was staying informed, that I had an opinion on stuff, and I wanted to share that with the world. And I felt entitled to present my opinion on social media to anyone who would listen, and provocative and all this kind of stuff. And it only reinforced the negativity, because we have a negative bias, my friends. Our bias is always toward the negative. And the news, social media feeds on that. It feeds on that, so that we are fed information that is more prone to be the negative. And then, of course, we comment on it and we share our opinion in the comments. And then people share their anti-opinion. It becomes an argument in the comments section, to the point where we're continued to be fed that, because that's what's getting the engagement on social media. It's a terrible and addictive game that is really, really harming our nation. And I think a lot of us are falling into that addiction, myself included, many years ago, when I was finding myself addicted to the news and social media. Now, this is not an argument against social media. I think there's a way to do social media well and to be positive on social media, but it takes intention and it takes work. And that's really what the nature of my talk was when I shared it this past weekend, was this idea that we can do away with our negative addictions if we can actually lean into those small, positive, creative acts and then share them with the world consistently. I found that with puns, dad jokes, dumb, stupid jokes that I posted on Facebook. And I posted them every day. I stopped watching the news and I just started posting a dumb pun every day. And I started getting this engagement. And I originally did that because it wasn't because I was looking to build a community. I ultimately did that because I just recognized that I didn't feel good about watching the news. And I saw that I was starting to develop some of the same habits, some of the same behaviors that I did around alcohol, but this time with the news and social media. Like, I was consuming it, nonstop. And I found myself not really being able to control stopping. Hey everyone, I interrupt this program to introduce you to a powerful tool that will help you gain clarity on your vision and accelerate your growth and achievement. If you're listening to this show, it is likely that you have an exciting vision for your life. But the problem is that we often get caught up in the day-to-day. We get distracted, we face uncertainty, overwhelm, and self-doubt. And as a result, the gap between where you are and where you want to be seems insurmountable. And that's why I created a framework for how you can turn your vision into strategic, disciplined action that will accelerate your results in the next 90 days. I call it the Vision Reflection Retreat. It is a 2-day solo excursion designed to reignite passion and adventure into your busy life and realign your focus toward your why. This is the very same framework that I use every 90 days to reflect on my own life and my vision and set my goals for the next quarter. And it has been a game changer. And the good news is that I'm giving away this Vision Reflection Retreat guidebook for free when you sign up for my newsletter. Simply go to flowoverfear.com/retreat and download your free guide and enjoy the journey. And even with social media, I would just doom scroll and find myself like hours later, like, where was I? Have you ever felt that way? Like, you've just been so immersed in social media or the news that you were trapped in it for hours and you didn't get anything done. And now you don't feel good at all because you have this social media hangover. Yeah, been there, done that. But I just decided that time to just disconnect from the news completely. And yes, that meant risking not being informed. And I disconnected from all of the negativity on social media. I just started posting a pun a day. And that just did wonders for the quality of life. I mean, there wasn't an intention around that to build a community. But what I found over time is that the community found me because of that consistent daily creative habit. And that's where I've come up with this idea of creative connection. And I believe that there's power in this, to the point where even going forward, I have a goal to lean into this creativity even more. Just as I found that connection through creativity, this small creative act of posting a dumb daily dad joke, which I didn't used to be good at dad jokes. I think I am now. I would consider myself a pun master, but I wasn't good at it then. It just took building the muscle over time. And just like I built that muscle over time, I'm planning on, doing the same thing with drawing, with music, and with other forms of art, and with other forms of creativity, storytelling. This whole medium here of podcasting, when I do this in a positive way, is a way to connect. And it's a more powerful way to connect. Because when we can build the communities of people that are like-minded, that attach themselves to what we produce out there in a creative way, we find we're more fulfilled. We find the connections that we crave. We don't have to pursue them in an addictive, negative way. We don't. We can do it by presenting our creativity to the world and doing so vulnerably. Now, why is creativity the important part of this? You may be asking, can I find community through other activities? Of course you can. You can find it through sports. You can find it through health or any other means. But the reason creativity is important is because I believe that it's all inclusive. It's something that all of us can participate in. Any one of us can participate in, and it doesn't. And I think also that what's different about this, because I've been involved in communities that, like the triathlon community, that's a very, very specific community around a specific event, which is great. It's great to have that so you can get the support. I am always an advocate for the positive communities that you can build. But here's what's important about the power of creativity is it exposes yourself to communities that are more diverse and more broad, have different beliefs and opinions. It actually connects you to people that you would have never otherwise thought to connect with, or you may not even necessarily agree with. And those are the kinds of connections that are more vital now than they ever were. But they're also more difficult to make because of the negativity and the division that we're feeling. We need that connection to other people that we may not agree with. We need it. We have to stop that division. And what creativity also does, creativity highlights our core passions. When we lean into something that we find creatively fulfilling, we're actually opening up our hearts and our souls through this work of art, whether it's a pun or a drawing of a stick figure or a piece of music. It doesn't really matter. When we lean into that creativity, we are opening up our hearts into our passions. Now, often it's hard to share those things because we're afraid that people might ridicule us, or that we won't make the connection we need, or we're just presenting ourselves so vulnerably that we might not want to. But that's where courage takes place. And that's where it has to do with fear. Because when we courageously put ourselves out there in that way, whether it's a dumb dad joke or a piece of art, that's when we actually, that's when we create those opportunities for a connection to occur. And yes, criticism can happen, and it often does. But just remember that for every critic that decides to post the negative thing, it's really, really easy to be critical of somebody for doing something vulnerably. But for every critic that we have, there's more and more people standing behind that critic that really appreciate what you're doing. I can't tell you how many critics I had when I first started posting dumb dad jokes. People who would just say things like, stop doing this. Just stop it. don't do this anymore. And they weren't doing it like they weren't saying that in a funny kind of, oh, just stop. No, they were saying it like, seriously, stop this. I don't want to see this anymore. But more recently, and even just a few months into it, when it started becoming part of the identity that I built, people began to respond positively, and to the point where I've been getting messages that people, it brightens their day, it makes people feel better. They, and everything like that. Those positive creative acts make a difference. Focus on that creative connection. See how it imprints a positive attitude onto your day. And this is just kind of a brief, like kind of touching point of my TED Talk. And in that TEDx talk that I'm going to share far and wide when it comes out very soon, I'm really excited about it. I talk a lot more. I share more details of the story, and I also share some puns in there. So I think you'll enjoy it. And what I'm going to ask all of you to do is to share that with your network when it comes out. So please, 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 when this TEDx comes out, let's show the love so that this thing gets hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, and spreads the message that just a small positive creative act can change the world if we do it consistently. And imagine if tens, hundreds of thousands of people hear this message and start sharing their own creative acts. It can create communities everywhere. It can change our whole perspective on life, and it can connect people who would have never otherwise been connected. I'm so lit up by this message of creative connection. And even if you don't feel like you have a creative bone in your body, start with a stick figure. Just draw a stick figure that's doing something positive in the world, and then share it out there on Instagram. Just draw a stick figure giving like some flowers to a neighbor. Share that. And then make it a routine to maybe just for the next 7 days, I'm going to post a stick figure doing something nice for someone on Instagram. And that's it. And then just see the connection that you make through that process. Let's show the world what a small positive creative act can do to build community, the community that you never knew you needed. I can't say it enough. I'm so excited about this message. I've never been more connected to a talk that I've given. And I'm actually very excited to maybe even turn this into a full-blown keynote that I can deliver on stages in the future. But in the meantime, I'm going to share this TEDx talk. I'm excited for it to come out. I'm excited for you to share it. And so watch out for that soon. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today on Flow Over Fear. If you are liking this show, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. That way you'll be first to know when I drop a new episode, including interviews or trainings or dad jokes. That's right, dad jokes. Add a little levity to your life. And if you liked this episode in particular, and you think somebody can get something from it, please share it with a friend. And that way we'll spread the message together. Thanks again for joining me today. We'll see you next time.